Hello there and welcome back to another episode of WTF Movies, the series where I review movies that make me go, what the fuck? Hello beautiful people, 'tis I, back again in the flesh. Apologies for the long sabbatical, there's been some developments in my other career, and also I spent some time to make some investments. I got this bad boy, so if it comes to the worst, I'll be making a slight pivot to the ASMR market. Oh yeah, baby. Call me daddy. Anyway, picking up where we left off, this week I have gone through another treasure trove of questionable cinematic material, and I found this week's candidate, Legion, came out in 2010, starring Paul Bettany of all people, who I'm actually a great fan of. So without further ado, let's get cracking. Roll credits, and straight away we are greeted by a Bible verse, and you know a film means business when there's a Bible verse at the very beginning. Also, voiceover from our lady leading character. Why is God angry? Because he got fed up with the bullshit. She might be paraphrasing a little. Anyway, title card. Next, unidentified flying Paul Bettany lands on Earth from the moon, in a back alley, performs a very painful looking surgery with a knife, and then loses his BDSM necklace. Moving on. Straight away we're in the warehouse of a Korean toy company where our unidentified flying Paul Bettany knocks out one of the guards, treats his wound, goes into a hidden room and finds a bunch of guns. Alright, Agent 47, calm down. Meanwhile, a couple of cops who are up to no good are starting to make trouble in the neighborhood. Basically, they're driving down the road, finger guns towards people, having this very foreshadowy conversation about how this filth needs to be cleaned up. Well, that's not a good look in 2021. And then suddenly, boom, explosion. Out walks the Terminator from God through a cross-shaped hole, stand up with the two police officers. They get into a little kerfuffle, and then one of them gets possessed, so they both get shot and killed. And Paul Bettany drives up in the cop car while the lights go out in the whole city. Spooky. In another part of the United States, a confused-looking, hopeful young movie star, Tokyo Drift, Tokyo Drift, walks out of his private domicile, and well, meet Jeep. Yes, that's his actual name. He's a mechanic called Jeep. Don't ask. Also, meet Charlie. She's pregnant. He's in love with her, not his baby. Drama. And they're both working and living at a diner called Paradise Falls. And now, welcome to Paradise Falls. We're about to meet all our heroes for this cinematic experience. We have Jeep, we have Charlie, we have Jeep's dad Bob, who has a very intense relationship with his old TV, Percy, Chef, Veteran, and Christian. Then we have the Andersons. We have Audrey, who's slutty, we have Kate, who's stuck up, and we have Howard, who's useless. In rolls Kyle, played by Tyrese Gibson, which is, let's be honest, it's Tyrese Gibson in a film. Man's got charisma, but he's playing the same character in every film more or less, at least what I've seen. That said, his phone doesn't have a signal, so he stops at the diner. At this point, Kyle bumps into Charlie just outside of the diner. She's smoking while pregnant, and then turns out that only the diner's phone inside works, so he has to go inside. Bit of banter, bit of chat. He asks to use the phone, at which point Howard rudely interrupts. Also, Audrey seems to take a particular interest in our Kyle. Is it gonna be that kind of movie? Turns out the reason the Andersons are still stuck in the diner is because their car's broken down and Jeep is fixing it. But big reveal, Dad goes out in the back to talk to Jeep. He's not actually fixing the car. He's building a cradle for the unborn baby. That's not his. You're really making this worse for yourself, Jeep. You really are. Daddy-O tries to talk some sense into the boy, a bit of father-son bonding. Jeep feels that this is something he has to do. His dad felt that the building the diner was something he had to do, but look where that got him, yada yada yada. Character development. Moving on. And now, Trouble in Paradise. The TV switches over to this weird, creepy warning signal that they don't quite know what to do with. So does the radio. There's a storm coming, and Kyle gets cut off on the phone, so they don't have any more signal either. the tension is building. And just at this particular moment, meet Gladys. Lovely little grandma walks in with a creepy little shadow, never mind that. Scene goes in 5 minutes from, "Hey everyone, my name is Gladys," to, "Charlie, your baby's gone burn, all them babies gone burn," to Gladys is biting Howard's neck and taking a frying pan to the face like a champion, and now she's climbing the ceiling. Creepy. Finally, she jumps down, confronts Jeep. She's got all this weird evil voice. He can't pull the trigger, he freezes. Finally, Kyle produces a gun from somewhere and shoots Grandma in the head. More on that gun later. But the excitement does not end here because Howard needs to be driven to the nearest town because he's bleeding out from the neck. They drive through the storm. Turns out those are not clouds. Those are swarms of bugs. Back at the hacienda of Paradise Falls, father and son, Bob and Jeep are bonding over their shared trauma. That name really pisses me off for some reason. I don't know, it just gets on my nerves. Anyway, they're bonding over their shared trauma and they are so confused they don't know whether to drink the beer or hold it against their heads. Jeep is also very embarrassed because he couldn't pull the trigger. On the one hand, yeah, he could have died. On the other hand, it was a lovely grandma. You'll shoot the next one. At this stage, the other half of the Scooby Gang arrives. They are absolutely terrified, understandably so. And out of the whole gang, Percy has the right idea because he is making a beeline straight for his Bible. Also, our gang has another bright idea. Take the body out from the diner. Thank you. If you just seen a possessed person walk on a ceiling and bite people, you're not gonna keep him around next to you, are you? Thank you. As they're taking the body out, unidentified Paul Bettany shows up in his cop car. Obviously, the gang is freaked out, so they point guns at him and ask him to show his teeth, because the possessed have weird teeth, like very sharp. And at this stage, we find out that unidentified Paul Bettany is called Michael. After the initial back and forth, Michael fills them in on the world's events. Turns out there's an apocalypse, y'all. And there's some more of the Lord's Kung Fu, and Michael takes control. Next thing you know, the Terminator from God is handing out AR-15s to everyone. Even Charlie gets a handgun, and it's kicking off. The unbitten members of the Anderson family, Audrey and Kate, are corralled back into the diner, and cue the short Home Alone setup sequence, and nightfall. Just as night settles, the generators, with a very keen sense of plot development and building tension, die. So the gang decides to go on top of the diner with their guns to get ready for the battle. Enter ice cream van chased by bear. I made the bear up. Random joke, when it starts you hold on tight, otherwise you'll blow your hand off, says Michael. Everyone looks at Percy, the veteran with an arm missing. The ice cream man gets out of the van. He is played by Doug Jones. Check him out, that dude is versatile. He's played in Hellboy, he's played in Pan's Labyrinth, he's done monsters for decades. He's fantastic. But anyway, bit of a giveaway, he's one of the possessed. And then everybody and their possessed mamas show up at the diner. At this stage, for some reason, the group, at the behest of Michael, who, need I repeat, is a Terminator from God, starts randomly shooting at the cars. Because all the possessed come in cars. Now, as a military expert of world renown, I don't think it's a great idea from an ammunition preservation point of view. And in case you're wondering, I am the most experienced military expert in this room. Hello! Hello! So alone. During the firefight, one of the possessed manages to grab Howard and drag him to hell. Well, just drag him away. And he died as he lived, flippin' useless. And suddenly, the army of possessed just stops. As our survivors regroup, Michael spills the beans. The last time God got angry at humanity, he sent a flood. This time, he got inspired by The Walking Dead. Now you might say to yourself, Silas, The Walking Dead came out in October 2010, meanwhile Legion was out in spring of 2010. How does that work? Well, If God wants to watch 272,456 episodes of The Walking Dead before they are out, I'm not gonna tell him he can't. I mean, I'm not sure if you realized, he's a little bit pissed right now. Favorite piece of dialogue? Bob, ever the consummate atheist. I don't even believe in God. Michael, actual angel. That's just fine, Bob. Doesn't believe in you either. Damn. You can smell that one. That's a divine roast. Back to the info dump. Michael is an angel. He rebelled, came down to Earth to save Charlie and her baby because the baby is humanity's only hope. Why? I don't know, but he, she, whatever is. But Revelation 1, she is only 8 months pregnant. Ha! Revelation 2, the baby's coming anyway. This film is full of revelations. Nah, I'm making Bible puns. I know. Next, we have a heart-to-heart between the only two black characters in the film, Kyle and Percy. They're standing guard up on the roof. Percy decides to confront Kyle about his gun. This becomes a conversation about doing the right thing. That's all I got on that one. Kate Anderson is having a beer and crying over Howard. Foreshadowing. My man Jeep and Michael also bond. Turns out God has given up on humanity, but Michael hasn't. Aw, thanks Michael, that's nice. But he does bring up the fact that we do have a little bit of a reputation. Which is fair enough, because we do have our moments. And at this point, we get a divine flashback. Michael and the other archangel, Gabriel, disagree. Michael wants to save humanity because he believes God is having a moment and he'll come around and chill out. Gabriel just wants to follow orders. I've heard that one before. Right. Next morning, Kate disobeys not one, not two, but 3 rules in the Surviving Horror Films for Dummies. 1. If you hear a mysterious voice, don't follow it. 2. Whatever happens, do not open the door. 3. If you see your dead husband tied upside down, screaming, covered in boils on an upside down cross, don't run to him. Obviously, she does all 3, so Percy has to jump in to save her ass. And the boils explode, they're all acidic. Percy gets burned, he dies. Thanks a lot, Kate. At least Howard was only useless. More trouble in paradise. Obviously, with Percy's death, Bob hates himself. And Kate tells Audrey that everything is her fault. Honey, you're living through an actual act of God. Chill. Also, sorry about your loss. Then, one of the radios gets fixed and we find out there are actual human militias forming resistance groups all around the country. One of them is nearby. That's right, we are cancelling the apocalypse. But Michael is against moving until the baby's born. Charlie goes to the bathroom and gives up smoking. And she has a heart-to-heart with Jeep. The whole conversation's about the fact that Charlie didn't want to keep the baby. She tried to do something about it, but she could never quite bring herself to do it. Are there people like that out there? Yeah. Is the writing poetry that fully captures what a woman will go through when she's deciding whether to keep a baby or not? Probably not. Also, the guy's named Jeep. You can't have a serious conversation with Jeep, I'm sorry. At the same time, Audrey and Kyle are having a heart-to-heart of their own up on the roof. Kyle says, I got really good at being bad. Kyle also says 2 seconds later, the problem is when you get older and have a family, being bad is not so good anymore. Yeah, I guess. Suddenly, the generators get turned back on by themselves. Whoa. Double suddenly, a family in need arrives. Triple suddenly, they get surrounded by evil metalheads. They are very, very evil and they are very, very metalheads. Kyle, realizing that this was a trap set up for the family, jumps down to save them, shoots a couple of them, runs them off, grabs the little girl, and that's when he realizes that, the trap was actually meant for him, because the little girl gets possessed and bites him in the neck. And thus, both of our black characters sacrifice themselves. But now, Audrey decides to jump down from the roof as well to save Kyle. And finally, the people inside plead with Michael to go out and do something. So he does. He grabs 2 machine guns, heads out, starts shooting fools, immediately runs out of ammo, drops the machine guns, grabs his sidearms. Now he's dual-wielding pistols, he's punching some people, and finally, with a divine intuition for movie cool, Michael flamethrowered some fools. He grabs Audrey, they head back in, explosion. Cool guys don't look at explosions. The remaining survivors are back inside trying to deal with what just happened when whoa, creepy little possessed girl is inside as well, and she just wants to play with the baby. So Charlie kicks her in the face, as you do. Lights go out, finally someone manages to grab her and chuck her out the window, and Jeep, in a fine moment of character development, starts blasting a child flying out the window. Well done, Jeep. You made some progress. And the baby's coming. So while the Scooby Gang is tied down with the complexities of childbirth, we hear the sounds of an apocalyptic trumpet. Gabriel is coming. The baby's born, and apparently the possessed cannot actually touch the child, so at this stage the gang decides to make a run for it. But at that very moment, Kate decides to continue her streak of being an absolute grabs the child and tries to hand him over. Right then and there, Gabriel tears the door off its hinges to make his climactic entrance, and Michael shoots Kate in the face. Thanks, Michael, you're an angel. Don't worry, Jeeps jumps out and catches the baby. But that doesn't last long because Michael's got a mace and he's going for him. Gabriel, who, I haven't mentioned this so far, has a very interesting mix of English and American accent. Like, he's not really British, but he's not fully American either. He's trying to do one of them. I don't know which one, but he's doing one of them. Back to the action. Gabriel does not waste time and starts to tear the house down, literally. Dispatches Bob straight away and proceeds to have a one-on-one with Michael. Now at this stage the fight got really dark, as in visually it was very hard to follow. There were some cool sequences, but it's a lot of shadow. It wasn't great to watch. Finally, Gabriel wins by impaling himself while Michael has him in a chokehold, which I'm pretty sure they do not teach in Jiu-Jitsu. Michael disintegrates while Gabriel sheds a tear, and then Bob blows up the diner with a lighter called Hope. Oh, the irony. Meanwhile, our remaining heroes, Audrey, Charlie, Jeep, and the baby manage to drive all the way to Red Ridge National Park, where one of the human militia camps is, but they get attacked by a very alive and a very angry Gabriel. So, car chase, shootout, fisticuffs in the car crash. Charlie and Jeep make a run for it up into the hills with the baby. Naturally, Gabriel charges them again. But if you thought the fights were dark up until now, you have not seen anything, and you will not see anything else from here on out either. It is very pitch black. Jeep and Gabriel have a one-on-one, because obviously Jeep is gonna sacrifice himself. He cannot let anything happen to the baby. They fall off a cliff, and just as about Gabriel is going to execute Jeep, twist, Michael jumps down from heaven. This time he is wearing his full gear, and one shot defeats Gabriel. They do have a little bit of a conversation where they sort of acknowledge the plot loophole of the fact that Michael got resurrected and he's back in God's graces because God's kind of over it now. And he's happy that humanity hasn't been wiped out. Don't ask. Michael gives the quest of protecting the child to Jeep and he flies off. Will we ever see you again? Have faith. As of 2021, Michael has not been seen again. He has been seen if you consider the series that followed this film. Well, he wasn't played by Paul Bettany, so I'm not counting that one, eh? The film ends with Jeep and Sarah Connor, Charlie, driving down the road in a car filled with guns. Alrighty, that brings us to the final scores. Let's see what the public thinks. So, on IMDb, the public gave Legion 5.3, which I can kind of understand. A little bit above average. Fair play. On Metacritic, it got 4.5. A little bit less, but still not as little as on Rotten Tomatoes, where the public gave it 3.5. What? That's a bit harsh. In a world where The Room exists, surely 3.5 is a bit too little, eh? And now for my personal take. There is a good film somewhere dying to come out. I love Paul Bettany in it. I think the acting was pretty solid. It was nothing egregious. The writing was questionable at times. Also, the lighting was a problem. Some of the effects were a bit weird. The monsters didn't feel really scary. Besides Gladys, she was creepy as hell, but everybody else was just kind of run-of-the-mill. Maybe with the exception of the ice cream man, Doug Jones. He was kind of, cool. But other than that, bit by the numbers. Basically Terminator from heaven. Yeah. I'm not big on horror films in general. I don't think they don't have artistic merit, don't get me wrong. It's just I don't enjoy them because they creep me out too much. Not for me. That being said, I feel like it deserves a 6. I was entertained a little bit. So, yeah. I'm sticking with a 6. Which in this case stands for, well, it wasn't a nuclear disaster. And thank you very much, beautiful people, for watching another episode. Apologies again for the delay. I will be trying to get back on track. I've got some other stuff going on with my acting career, but I've got a film picked out already for next week, and I will be getting on that straight away. Like, subscribe, leave comments, recommend films, all the good stuff. Thanks for the love. See you next week.